analysis. Our next speaker, Clarisa Sanchez, is an associate professor at Radboud University Nijmegen, and she'll tell us about CT analysis to address COVID. Thank you, Clarisa.
Thank you very much, Hiro, for introduction, and thank you for inviting me for this talk. As I said, I'm going to talk about CT analysis using machine learning. And just a brief introduction to my group. The Diagnostic Image Analysis Group is in the Radiology Department at Radboud University Medical Center, and we are focused on developing computer algorithms with machine learning to aid clinicians in the interpretation of medical images. And we are focused on different parts of the body and also different type of images, and one of our focus is chest analysis, chest imaging analysis. And I would like to share with you recent news that the Radboud ELLIS unit has been awarded for machine learning and life science. And I'm happy that the DIA group is also part of it. There has been a lot of talking about what is the role of chest imaging during this crisis, especially because as we know, the PCR tests, they have a high performance in the labs, but they have moderate results in practice due to several reasons. And also, we are dealing with limited testing capabilities, for example, here in the Netherlands. So it is normal to look at other ways that we can diagnose suspected patients with COVID. And one of them is chest imaging. But of course, it's difficult to know how these images should be used and where they have to be used. Recently, in April 7th, this article has been published where the International Society for Thoracic Imaging has been indicating recommendations for use of chest imaging during COVID. So these recommendations, if you go for this, you can see that the imaging is recommended for symptomatic patients, especially for those ones that are at risk of disease progression or they show moderate to severe features. And especially, they indicated the CT is more sensitive to detection of, it has a higher performance detection of this, the features related to COVID, but they indicated that in a resource-constrained environment where access to CT is limited, chest X-ray may be preferred. And this, you can imagine that this is going to be very important in low-income countries because their PCR testing capacities are very limited or maybe non-existent, but also CT imaging is not available. And if we think that in a local health facility chest X-ray is available, it could be a good way to detect COVID using these images. So although this is not the focus of this talk, I would like to mention this initiative by Delft Imaging and Girona together with our group, where they provided free of charge CAT for COVID algorithms, that is focused on triage COVID-19 on chest X-ray. And they launched it 2 weeks ago, and now it has been implemented in 12 countries already. So it shows the role of imaging, but also the role of AI in this crisis. But if we go back to the CT, the importance of CT is that it's not only useful for identifying suspicion for COVID-19, but also you can see other things like the severity of infection or other comorbidities that can give you more information to make clinical decisions and also to manage the patient. For example, to indicate if this patient needs to be connected to a respiratory system or not. So for that reason, non-contrast CT imaging is quite recommended for a symptomatic patient. And I show here like these scorings, and it's because radiologists usually assess these features based on reporting scores or reporting schemes. And this structured reporting is very well recommended in this crisis because in that way they can reduce the uncertainty in the reporting findings, also decrease the reporting variability, but especially, and it's this last part of this in this article, is going to help the communication between the different clinicians that are treating the patient, and it's going to enable faster decisions for them. So based on this information, our head of the department, Matthias Prokop, together with his team, set it up a reporting scheme that is called CORADS. It's now a national guideline and it's recommended by the National Society of Radiology in the Netherlands. And this CORAT score system, the idea is that you scan the patient, or you scan the CT scan, sorry, you go through it, and then you provide a CORAT score that it can go through very low when there is when there is normal or there are no features related to COVID, low when there are features that are related to infection diseases but they are not typical for COVID, and or they can go to high or very high when the features that are seen are very typical for COVID-19. And together with this score, there is also a CT severity score where the lung is, well, you score the lung, you score every lobe of the lung. A lobe is a unit in the lung, and then you score per lobe the percentage of affected lung parenchyma. With these two scores, of course, you can now make they are clinically actionable in the way that you can make decisions based on this scoring. So it's very well prepared. So you can ask why I'm telling all this information, and this is important to know which is the role that AI can play during this crisis, especially for CT analysis. And this is very important because we have to avoid AI for AI's sake. We have to focus on things that are important, that are needed for the clinician, and we can make them more efficient and not the other way around. So focusing on, for example, reporting or making this report more faster or more efficient, that can help them a lot as assessing the comorbidities, that can also help them to identify patients that are at risk. Doing AI just to separate normal from abnormal CT scans might be not so useful for them, and maybe we shouldn't focus on that part. But we also need to take into account as well, not only what are the tasks that we can do or what we can automate, but also other parts, like, for example, data. We, of course, need data to process it, as well as annotations. But as you can imagine, although there are many patients that are being treated and are being, we have images, it's very difficult to get access to them because the departments are now under constraints, is under the crisis. So just populating the small data set that we have with COVID with the normal patients wouldn't do, because then you are going to, maybe those images are maybe taken with a different protocol, or they are following different standards, and then the systems are just going to focus on recognizing the difference instead of recognizing the disease or the task that you want to do. Also, it's important to take into account patient consent. And although those the rules have now been relaxed about privacy and patient consent, it is still important that we keep privacy of the patients as a high priority, and that we provide everything that is for security, for data security. Apart from that, we also have to take into account how are we going to deploy AI. It's important that we make this solution reachable to the clinicians in a way that is easy for them to directly take and employ in their daily practice. So it's also something that we have to take into account. And I think at times that the solidarity is very important and is making a big difference in many countries. We also have to think about how we can aggregate and collaborate in this field. So taking all this into account, 2 weeks ago, a bit more than 2 weeks ago, we made a joint effort of the 4 different institutions to set up a team of around 30 researchers. It's a multidisciplinary team that is clinicians, AI researchers, and also scientific programmers, that they are going to focus on providing all the resources that we have for fighting COVID-19. And how are we going to do it? Well, taking as the base the data that we have from the 2 medical centers that have been acquired during this crisis, and also this reporting system that I just explained, that is supported by the Dutch Association of Radiology. We made annotations. We created annotations through automating or automatically parsing the reports that we get by the radiologists, or making delineations, for example, of the lobes, of the consolidations or other type of features or findings, thanks to analysts that are in Tirona and the software that Fraunhofer, Mavis, and Tirona have provided to make that annotations. And with that, we focus on providing 4 different things. The first thing is a CORAT viewer this viewer is, what we want to do is to easily report cohorts, and in that way, it can also get access to AI solutions. Based on the viewers, we created also a teaching cohorts tool, and the idea is that we would like to train or to help training radiologists and clinicians to get used to these scoring systems and also to understand the features that are related with COVID. And we also focusing on creating AI solutions that can be incorporated in this viewer, focusing on the prediction of cohorts scores and also severity scores in order to speed up the reporting. And finally, the other sub-goal is to reach or to try to create curated databases in order to provide to the community through a challenge, so we can join efforts on solving this problem of automating the CT reading. So if we go to the different parts or the different goals. So the first one is the cohorts viewer. It's a web-based viewer, and I think that the best is that I show you an example of it. So it's running on the wedge in our Grand Challenge platform. I will explain later about this platform. And here you can have access, you can upload your DICOM file and you can upload several DICOM files, and then you can assess following the template, the cohorts template is incorporated, as you can see on the left. And there you can scroll through the scan. It has the all the features that the radiologists usually use to go through the scan. And then you can just fill all the fields that are needed to create the structured report following the cohorts and the CT severity score reports. And this is a way to also standardize how they are doing, and it's speeding up how they report the patient, and it can be done very quickly, as you can see. Based on this viewer, we also created a teaching tool, especially because this was requested by our clinicians, that it was important also for them to learn how to score following this scheme, this reporting scheme. So what we did is just incorporating a way that you can put your answers, you can add your answers, and then you can compare those answers with the one done by 8 radiologists in 7 Dutch centers. This has been already been used within our hospital. And of course, what we would like to do, as I said, is this cohorts viewer, what we would like is to power it up with AI solutions in a way that we can really automate all these reports and into all the scoring. So we would like to automate all the left part that you can see in the viewer. And well, so far now, for this last 2 weeks, we have been focusing on providing the cohort automatically, the cohort score and the CT severity scores. And for that, we have a system or a pipeline where the CT goes first to a lobe segmentation algorithm where we segment all the lobes. And then we have an extraction of individual lobes. And then for per lobe, we also get the segmentation or the lesion segmentation that are associated with COVID. And with that, we can provide the cohort score and the CT severity score per lobe. This is we are working now in the publication that I probably will have finished with the first result this week. But I can show you here a bit of what we have. You can see here an example for a lung for patient where it is the lobe segmentation. It can follow very well, even in the presence of deaths and abnormalities. The lobe segmentation does fail, and that's very good for the pre-processing of the scans for later analysis. For the next, for cohorts analysis, for cohorts score, automatic cohorts score analysis, where we have an ensemble of networks, and then the output is one of these cohorts scores. And you can see that the results are getting very well. It's, we have an area under the core of 0.9, separating the low risk or low level, low probability of COVID and higher probability of COVID. And it's a very difficult task because it's not just separating normal scans from abnormal scans, but it's separating also infections scans not related with COVID with infections scans that are related with COVID. And the last part is the CT severity score that is based on the lesion segmentation. So we first segment the lesions using an encoder decoder networks, and then based on that we can calculate the percentage of lung parenchyma that is affected. And as you can see, these scores are quite correlate very well with the one provided by the radiologists. So these are very quickly and summarized. These are the what we have been doing, and we can see we are integrating all this in Grand Challenge, and all these results are being integrated in Grand Challenge. This is our platform. It's a platform that is hosting challenges, public challenges, algorithms, for example, the ones that you are seeing here, and also reader study that is available, is publicly available, and everybody can access it. And we would like at the end of this week to have a section here that we can provide to the research community and the clinical community all the algorithms that we have developed and validated now, but also all the viewers and the COVID viewers that we have. So with that, I would like to thank especially all the people that have been working very hard in the last week in this effort. So thank you very much, and thank you all for your attention.